Today is the second Sunday of Easter, also known as Divine Mercy Sunday. Easter is an 8-day celebration, and the period is called the Octave of Easter. Normally, the last day of a celebration, especially an 8-day feast, is the high point of the celebration. For example, it says in the Gospel of John, on the 8th day of the Feast of Tabernacles, the last and greatest day of the festival, Jesus stood up and cried out, "Let anyone who is thirsty come to me. Let the one who believes in me drink." Very little attention was given to the second Sunday of Easter until the late Pope John Paul II declared it Mercy Sunday and tied it to Sister St. Faustina's writings on the divine mercy of God. However, St. Gregory of Nazianzen and St. Thomas Aquinas, both doctors of the Church, had stressed that the 8th day was a greater feast than Easter Sunday. Today, there is great outpouring of God's mercy upon the whole world. To obtain the special perpetual plenary indulgence, which is the remission of all temporal punishments due to sin, one ought to A. Attend Mass, B. Venerate the image, pray the divine chaplet of mercy, have gone to confession within the last 20 days, or go shortly afterwards. However, you must be free from mortal sin. Perform some works of mercy. There are several corporal works of mercy and several spiritual works of mercy from which you can choose. The teachings from today's reading are extremely difficult for us. The first reading is about the early Christians sharing all resources in common. There was no needy person among them. For those who owned property and houses would sell them, bring the proceeds of the sale, and put it at the feet of the apostles, and they distributed to each according to need. This is like communism, where there is no private property. However, communism has lots of all the bad effects, like the leadership, etc. Today, it is so difficult to teach some parishioners to be generous, and even harder to convince him or her to give up his or her own money or his or her own property in return for communal living. A rich man once asked Jesus, what did he need to do to gain eternal life? And Jesus replied that he ought to keep the commandments. He said he had already followed them since as a young man. Whereupon Jesus said to him, if you wish to be complete or perfect, go and sell your possessions and give it to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven, and then come, follow me. The young man went away very sad, for he was very rich and could not part with his possessions. Many of us, including myself, would probably also fail this test. We need to continue to ask God for the graces we need to have a more generous spirit. The second reading tells us that obedience to God's command is a sign of our love for Him and for our brothers and sisters. For the love of God is this, that we keep his commandments. Again, many of us, including myself, would have great difficulty following not some, but all of Jesus' teachings. Tennyson, the poet, said that we could gain more faith from honest doubt, which arises as we recite the creeds. Galileo Galilei said that doubt is the father of discovery. We cannot go around doubt. We must go through it. We must confront it and take it to God in prayer. We cannot pretend it does not exist. Unless our faith is challenged, it will not increase. Thomas the Apostle represents all who cannot experience an encounter with the risen Christ, and whose faith in the resurrection of Jesus must rely on the testimony of others that comes to us in the Bible. Thomas vowed that unless he touched the wounds of Christ to be sure that it was him, put a finger in his nail wounds and his hand in the side, he will not believe in the resurrection. However, when Christ appeared and challenged him to touch his wounds, he did not examine the wounds. He acknowledged Jesus simply by kneeling down and saying, "My Lord and my God." Jesus then said, "Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed." You, Thomas, believe because you have seen. The great challenge of our faith today is not about the resurrection, but about the sacramental presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. Is the Eucharist the body and blood of Christ? Just as the Son of God can take on flesh in the womb of a virgin, he can become present in the bread and wine. Because many have struggled with this doctrine over the years, Jesus allows us to witness Eucharistic miracles where the host changes into real flesh and the wine into congealed blood. The Vatican has put together a catalog of 140 most famous Eucharistic miracles that features pictures and eyewitness accounts. It is called the Eucharistic Miracles of the World, Catalog of the Vatican International Exhibition. One of the most interesting discoveries during the examination of sacred hosts that has been transformed is that it's not only transformed into flesh, but the flesh of heart tissue. Search the internet, and you'll find many videos of Eucharistic miracles, especially of Julia Kim, a South Korean woman, who, when she received the host, it turns to flesh while resting on her tongue. Please also look up the mystery, the miracle of Buenos Aires. You cannot go around doubt. You must go through it. Do your research, and hopefully the next time the host is elevated, like Thomas, you can say, "My Lord and my God," as you recognize Christ in the Eucharist.